Next on AM 1480 WLEA, The Newsmaker Show. Here's Brian O'Neill.
Well, being Friday, it's time for Alfred University Political Science Professor Emeritus Dr. Robert A. Heineman.
Thank you, Brian.
So much to talk about this week. Did you want to start out with the stock market?
No, I don't think we should get ourselves cast as a market analyst, Brian. It went down. It's come up a little bit. I think we're probably in pretty good shape there. That's my analysis.
Yeah. What event from this week could have caused that?
Well, people were saying that after talking to Xi Jinping, that about coming up with a moratorium on tariffs and things of that sort, that Trump then made this remark about being a tough tariff guy. And of course, he has pointed one of the negotiators is apparently very strong on the use of tariffs as an economic weapon. But the claim was that Trump's statement then caused the markets to plunge because I guess they were afraid the Chinese would take umbrage. I don't know. That generally tends to be pretty superficial sorts of situations. But I think more important is what the Fed does with interest rates. And they seem kind of eager to pump interest rates up, which will have an effect on slowing the economy. And I don't think at this point there's any need to. Why would you want to slow the economy at this point? I think that's what Trump thinks too. He's not too pleased with Mr. Powell, the Fed chairman. So there are probably a number of factors there. But not to fear, folks. The American economy is still in pretty solid shape.
Dr. Bob, one thing in the news this week is that former U.S. Attorney General William Barr, who worked for H.W., might be the permanent replacement for Jeff Sessions.
Could be. I don't know. I think there are some other things we should be talking about, Brian.
Okay, go ahead.
One being the whole Khashoggi situation. It's really kind of fascinating that Trump has kept a hands off in terms of whether the Saudi crown prince ordered this killing and directed it. And as you know, and I assume it's the director of the CIA, the lady, I'm not sure, met with Senate Intelligence Committee and obviously in private. And obviously the CIA has very strong telephone communications or other kinds of communications from the Saudi crown prince that indicate that he had a pretty good idea what was going on there in terms of murdering Khashoggi. And it's kind of interesting that these are being kind of laid out to play their way out, because obviously it makes the crown prince look very bad. It makes the Saudis look very bad. At the same time, Trump is standing aside. And you've got to kind of wonder whether Trump really, as far as Trump's concerned, the worse you make this guy look, the better. It's just that he doesn't want to be the one doing it. So it is kind of interesting to watch that whole area play out. And I think it makes this guy and the Saudis look really pretty bad. Whether they have any long-term effects or not, I don't know. But hopefully it'll bring the Saudis, this crown prince, give him a little more humility and deliberation in his approach. He's really been kind of running all over everybody. And, of course, tied to this is the whole Yemen situation. And that's where the Saudis, I think, are really quite vulnerable. We've been providing a lot of support for their efforts in Yemen against the Houthi rebels. And if we'd to pull out and leave them on their own, I don't know, they could get drawn in there for a long, long time. So obviously the the U.S. and I think other countries have told Saudis and the rebels that somehow they've got to come up with some sort of ceasefire, some sort of compromise, and I think they're in the process of meeting or getting ready to meet now. But the pictures from there, of course, are horrible, and the cost, civilian lives and such, has been huge. But again, I don't think the Saudis care that much. They don't want a regime on their border, right on their border, that is backed by Iran. And so it's pretty gruesome.
You think Trump hasn't been strong enough on this issue?
What issue?
The Khashoggi and the Saudi prince.
Well, he's been strong in the sense that he's not been dropping the hammer on the Saudis at all. And, of course, his son-in-law, Kushner, apparently has got a warm relationship with his crown prince. So I don't know if that's part of it as well. But obviously the Saudis are important trade partners, and from our perspective, they are a strong counterweight to the Iranians. And so obviously Trump feels that we have to be a little careful there. It's an awkward spot for him. And like I'm saying, it may be that letting the CIA fire away can do some of the control that Trump himself doesn't feel he can do.
Can we talk NAFTA?
We can talk about NAFTA a little bit, yeah.
Some congressional Republicans, like Pat Toomey, the senator from Pennsylvania, are putting pressure on Trump not to withdraw from the North American Free Trade Agreement with Canada and Mexico, as he's trying to come up with updates and modifications, I should say, to the deal.
Yeah, well, I think Trump has made it pretty plain that that's what he's going to do. And I don't know what to tell Senator Toomey. I mean, Trump's pleased that he's worked a negotiation with Mexico and Canada, but the agreement does have to be approved by, and I think by the entire Congress. It's not a treaty, or maybe if it is, it has to be approved only by the Senate. But again, I'm thinking this. I'm not sure. NAFTA itself, I believe, maybe was a treaty. We'd have to look at that. But if it's a treaty, it needs 2/3 the support of the Senate. That's a pretty hard thing to come by.
Now, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, I think it's important, though, that Trump has moved ahead in this area, and I think he feels he's made advances for the United States in that respect.
Before we move on to the Nancy Pelosi issue, Congressman Josh Gottheimer from the Problem Solvers Caucus in the House put out a Twitter this week saying he joined his friend and Problem Solvers Caucus co-chair, Congressman Tom Reed, on the Fox News channel, and they had a good discussion about finding bipartisan common sense solutions on issues like immigration, healthcare, and infrastructure.
Right. So, that's nice. That's nice, Brian, yeah.
That doesn't lead you to say anything.
No, I would say that
he's in a good position being in that Problem Solvers Caucus, especially with the Democrats taking control, right?
Well, absolutely, and frankly, he's been involved in this long before the Problem Solvers Caucus. They had a previous group that was meeting regularly, so he's been on the ground floor with this, and that's probably why he's the Republican chair or the co-chair. But I do believe that although Pelosi will be elected Speaker of the House, I think her ability to control the House is going to be a lot less than it was the last time she was Speaker of the House. So it's going to be a pretty chaotic situation in the House of Representatives. Not so much so in the Senate, but certainly in the House, there's all kinds of elements moving here and there. It frankly is going to be pretty interesting. I just hope we can get some constructive legislation like, for example, infrastructure, which is something that the country badly needs. And you talk about the economy. If we come in with a heavy support for infrastructure modification and renewal, I mean, that's going to create a lot of jobs. So the economy, I think, has a ways to go yet in that respect. We could talk a little bit about China.
Can I say one thing that Pelosi said before we get to that?
You're going to say something Pelosi said on this program?
She said yesterday afternoon that the American dreamers, the patriotic young dreamers, are not bargaining chips. And she said that funding for Trump's, quote, immoral, ineffective, expensive border wall is off the table. No funding for that.
Well, I think basically, hasn't Trump made it plain he'll shut down the government?
Yes, he has.
So I don't know where Nancy's coming with that. But I guess we'll just have to see how that plays out with some of these appropriations bills that are coming down the pike here.
Okay, you wanted to talk about China. When you get done talking China, I want to talk about Senator Gillibrand.
I see.
Well, go ahead. China, it's all yours. The floor is yours.
Well, I think the situation with China is kind of interesting. I'm drawing on a panel I was watching, I believe, Tuesday night on C-SPAN. I think they had 4 specialists on China. And reasonably varied. There weren't any not-so-liberals on there, but a few Democrat supporters, I guess, and some Republicans who have worked with the Chinese for a long time. And it really was quite interesting because, first of all, they all agreed that the Chinese, as Trump has been saying, have been ripping off the United States and other countries in their economic policies. Now, there's a question of how you want to go about dealing with the Chinese on that, and obviously Trump's dealing with it in a fairly forthright fashion. But the point that a number of these people made was that the tariffs and our sanctions against the Chinese are bearing fruit in the so-called Pacific Rim, so that the South Koreans, the Japanese, the Filipinos, the Vietnamese, Singapore, companies in those areas are very reluctant now to have much business to do with any company that has Chinese money and Chinese managers in it. And so it's really kind of tightened up the ability of these Chinese companies, which are, very generally pretty effective, I think, but their ability to expand and move into overseas markets. And the thought was that Trump's threats here on the tariffs and such are encouraging Xi Jinping to be a lot more flexible, because some of the big industries and corporations in his country are saying, look, you got to slow this down here a little bit. We got to back off. And it does appear that that's what the Chinese are doing.
Can I read a line out of a Time magazine article?
Sure.
On the same day that Donald Trump, and tell me if I'm saying this right, Xi Jinping.
Xi? I don't think Xi is going to do
I know,
it.
Jinping. Jinping struck on the same day that...
No, you mean Xi Jinping?
What's that?
Xi Jinping? You mean the premier of China?
That's who we're talking.
Yeah, it's Xi Jinping.
Yeah.
All right, so...
All right. On the same day that he and Trump struck a trade war truce in Argentina, some 7,000 miles away, Canadian authorities made an arrest that now threatens to make the U.S.-China conflict much worse. It's a chief financial officer of Technologies Corporation. They convincing Canada to arrest her and take her into custody. China reacted with outrage after the news broke, demanding that both countries, Canada and the U.S., and U.S. wants her out of Canada, to free this woman whose last name is Meng.
Yes. Well, I think obviously we have criminal charges we're prepared to bring against her. And one of the problems, again, dealing with the Chinese is their economic and industrial espionage is really pervasive. And I wouldn't be surprised that there's some feeling this woman has been engaged in that in this country. We'll just have to see what the actual charges are. But they're notorious in terms of, for example, businessmen that go to China can't use their cell phones. They have to use these throwaway cell phones and such, because the Chinese will hack into their cell phone conversations and then through that then hack into their computers back in this country and then hack into their development of products and such. And then the next thing you know, the Chinese come out with the product before our businesses are able to get it on the market. And one of the reasons is, and again, Steve Jobs, for example, and this is in his biography by Isaacson, was working with Corning Glass to develop, I don't know, was it Gorilla Glass or whatever it was, for his screens, and he took it and simply moved it over to China. And the reason, I think part of the reason for that is you want to change, you want something done. In China, 3 or 4 days, you're going to have it taken care of. In this country, in your basic corporate structure, it just doesn't happen that way. People have to be consulted. It has to be considered. And so it might be 6 months before you get any action, whereas the Chinese were willing to give jobs like that. He needed this, he got it. So the industrial espionage can be, well, it has given the Chinese a lot of momentum in a lot of areas. And, of course, spying on our industries and taking our industrial secrets and patents and such is probably illegal. So we'll see. This should be pretty interesting, actually.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk about New York, U.S. Senator Kirsten Gillibrand. Stay with us.
Davidson's Furniture.
Let Davidson's Furniture help you get your home furniture ready for the holidays. This is Mike Davidson inviting you to shop and save now on new furniture during our holiday sale. Lazy Boy recliners, Serta mattresses, England living room, Howard Miller clocks are on sale, and you can have interest-free financing on any size purchase. Not sure what to buy? Then a Davidson's Furniture gift certificate will solve that problem. New furniture and bedding for you is on sale, ready for delivery during Davidson Furniture's holiday sale.
Hey folks, this is Dave Pease, the coin guy. And did you know that Pine Tree Coins is the only full-time coin shop in the area? We buy and sell old currency, gold and silver coins, proof sets, mint sets, even wheat pennies. We purchase diamonds, gold and silver jewelry, sterling silverware, pocket watches, dental gold, and of course, coin collections of all kinds. Appraisals are free and the service is friendly. And yes, we do pay cash. So stop into Pine Tree Coins, 7430 Seneca Road in North Hornell, right across from the Country Kitchen Restaurant, and see me, Dave, the coin guy. We're open Monday through Friday, noon till 5 p.m. Check us out on the web at pinetreecoins.net.
Meteorologist Rob Carolyn says this weekend's not going to be too bad.
No, it's actually looking rather quiet, Brian. Big high building southeastward from central Canada sets the stage for some cold temperatures. Going to try to give us a little bit of sunshine over the weekend, and it also looks like we're going to be talking about temperatures which are a little colder than they should be for the early to mid part of December. We've got a lot of cloudiness out there this morning, and the radar has been picking up a little bit of light precipitation. Right now, most of it's been concentrated to our north. There's been a few flurries stretched out from just east of Niagara down almost to the Finger Lakes, and then we've got some east of the Finger Lakes. I can't rule out a flurry or two here today off for Lake Ontario. Temperatures, they're going to be up to about 25 to 30. Sunrise earlier today was at 7:26. It'll set tonight at 4:38. This weekend, we're coming up on some of our earliest sunsets of the year. Believe it or not, the sun starts setting a little bit later, but days continue to get shorter because of later sunrises right through the 22nd. Tonight, we'll have lots of clouds. If you're headed out, bundle up. It'll be 15 to 20 overnight. Tomorrow, look for clouds, some breaks of sunshine, and temperatures which probably end up between 30 and 35 tomorrow afternoon. Tomorrow night, it'll become partly cloudy. Lows are going to be close to 20. Brian, as I look out to Sunday, I see high pressure in control, lots of sunshine. Temperatures, they're probably going to be around 35 Sunday afternoon.
Back with Alfred University political science professor emeritus Dr. Robert A. Heineman. Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, donors have leaked to big media outlets that they are mad at Senator Gillibrand.
Oh.
The big Democrat donors feel that Gillibrand threw Al Franken under the bus, that Al Franken was falsely accused, that Senator Gillibrand should not have called for his resignation. Weigh in this for us, Dr. Bob.
Well, it certainly breaks my heart what happened to Al Franken.
Well, now a lot of the Democrats, from what I can tell, feel that this was a false accusation and nobody had any business going after Al Franken.
Well, I don't know what to tell you there, Brian. I'm no friend of Al Franken, so I can't really.
What do you say on Gillibrand on this?
I think Gillibrand has an agenda that is, to put it mildly, pretty narrow, and she's going to push it wherever she can. And again, maybe she jumped the gun here with Franken. I don't know.
Now, the political situation that she seems to be in is that the conservatives are mad at Senator Gillibrand because of her feelings about accusations of assaults on college campuses.
Right.
And the conservatives don't like her for her accusations against the military and how they handle assault accusations.
Right. She's
so she's kind of in a corner here.
I don't know about that, but she has a specific kind of agenda that she is not letting up on. And I must say, I think it was in the New York Times this week, a reasonably sympathetic article on Betsy DeVos, the Secretary of Education, who has really come down hard on improving the due process protections for defendants in these college campuses, claims of one sort or another. And so, again, the author of the article felt that it was about time that somebody included a certain amount of basic fairness in these procedures, and DeVos is doing that. And I don't know where Gillibrand stands on that, but she certainly jumped in a lot of situations where usually men have been accused of sexual harassment and other kinds of things on campus. And I must say that having been involved in a number of institutions in this area in that respect, the rights of the people accused are right now, are really minimal. And it's really quite unfair. Now, this is not to mean that this sort of thing doesn't occur, but you got to have certain basic procedural protections there.
Can Senator Gillibrand move forward with a presidential campaign with the likes of George Soros being mad at her because Soros is buddies with Al Franken?
Oh, is that right?
Yes, and Soros is one of the ringleaders in this anti-Gillibrand campaign.
So Soros thinks Al Franken is humorous.
Innocent.
Oh, I guess. Humorously innocent. No, I think any effort at presidential effort by Gillibrand is probably pretty far-fetched, especially when you have Governor Cuomo, I think.
That's my next question.
Pretty clearly looking at the presidency. Now, of course, he said, no, I'm just going to be governor, etc. Well, that's a good position to take right now because all these other Democrats are running around bouncing off each other, and so take a little time and try to show that you can do lots of important things in New York, which he should be able to do now that he's got complete control of the state government. Where Gillibrand fits in all this, I don't think is very close to the key PowerPoint.
Okay, let's see. Was there anything else? We didn't really talk any state stuff, Doc. Is there anything that you wanted to talk about in New York State politics before we go?
No, at this point, there's nothing we'll just watch and see how this some of these proposals that the Democrats have been pushing play out. I think the one there, it's pretty clear Cuomo's going to go ahead with legalized marijuana. And I don't know how far the gun control situation is going to go, but I think that's going to get a number of proposals. I think the one that is also pretty interesting is this whole single-payer health insurance approach, which I think Cuomo has pretty clearly said that he doesn't support. But obviously some of the Democrats are still pushing that pretty heavily, and I don't know where that's going to come out.
Alrighty, well, today, December 7th, 2018, the 77th, is it anniversary of the bombing of Pearl Harbor, Dr. Heineman?
Well, when was it? 41, right?
Yeah.
Can you multiply that out there? I don't know, subtract it out. Day that will live in infamy. Yes, I was talking to somebody the other day in a college town. I was talking to some students, and they had no idea why December 7th was important. So we'll hope they pick that up by watching some social media this in the next few days.
All righty, I'll bring that up with Dr. Ostrower and Dr. Waddy next week.
Well, they may know something about it. Yeah, talk about it a little bit. Yeah. No, it's one of those important dates, that's for sure.
Thanks so much, Dr. Heineman.
Well, thanks for inviting me in, Brian.